Now, it has been 16 years, can you believe it, since opera singer Paul Potts was thrown into the spotlight after winning the first ever series of Britain's Got Talent. It changed his life forever.
It was like a film, wasn't it? In fact, it was a film.
It was a film.
Yeah. Since then, he's sold millions of records and performed live more than 1,000 times. We're going to speak to him in just a moment as he gets ready for a new tour. But first, a little reminder of what the fans can expect.
That's what you need just before 8 in the morning, isn't it? Paul is with us now. Paul, morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
Can you believe it's that long ago?
No, it makes me feel old. And at which point my wife tells me for the first time in more than 20 years of marriage, I'm right.
Paul, take us back to that audition, because it is it one of the most viewed auditions ever anywhere in the world? Yeah. It nearly didn't happen, did it?
I flipped a coin because I filled in the application form and I caught my reflection in a laptop and I thought, why would anybody choose you? You do the wrong kind of music, you're too old. I was in my mid-30s then. God knows what would happen now. And you've got such a great face for radio. Why would they choose you? And so it was the night before the entry shut. So I decided, right, I'll flip a coin. If it lands on heads, I'll enter. If it lands on tails, then I won't. And thankfully, it did land on heads.
And then you got to the audition, and what went through your mind? Because what's amazing about Britain's Got Talent is there's absolutely everybody there. They've got all sorts of different acts. You were in the queue with some other very different acts, weren't you?
Well, the couple on before me was a couple from Bristol, and it was a wife dancing with a pashmina scarf to her husband whistling birdsong, and the audience were baying for blood, and I thought, oh my God, what are you doing? And I seriously considered walking away, but I didn't in the end.
But there was a real moment when you sang, wasn't there?
I thought I'd failed. Because I had a bit too much tension at the end, and the note cracked a little bit, and I thought, oh God, I've messed it up, because that's the note everybody's waiting for. But it turned out to be a real crossroads in my life.
Here it is. Can we listen to this bit? That is the moment, isn't it? Did you get a sense then? Did you know then you'd done OK?
I didn't have a clue what would happen next. And I did my best not to second-guess, because I think sometimes if you kind of overthink how successful you might be, I think it can actually weigh too heavy on your own expectations, and it can actually make things a little more difficult.
So what does a tour look like for you now, then? Is everybody on their feet the whole time?
I had a slightly bizarre situation in Germany last weekend where the audience actually, I got a full standing ovation at the end of the first half.
Oh.
It's not over yet, not over yet.
Don't go.
Have to go, don't go yet. But it's a lot of my tours now are just me and a pianist, which makes things really refreshing. I mean, I still do lots of shows with full orchestra and other ways, but here in the UK and doing some shows in Germany in the same way, it's just me and a pianist. And the joy of that is that you can kind of hear something and then perform it on the next show. So last year I did Tamworth Assembly Rooms. I'm doing it again this year. And we'd heard a Jack Savoretti version of The Weeknd's Blinding Lights. And two shows later, I was performing on stage.
Wow.
And you can do that when it's just you and a pianist.
But also, there's nowhere to hide when it's just you and a pianist.
That's the risk, because it's very exposing as well. So you have to be in good form as well. So
and confident.
Confidence? Yeah.
And I'm looking at where you've been. South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, New Zealand, Fiji, Scandinavia, Germany, all across the UK. You've just finished 2 weeks in Phantom of the Opera in Tokyo. Are audiences different around the world? How do they respond?
Well, in Tokyo, they're really, really polite whilst you're singing, and then they go nuts at the end. And they're often, I mean, they give you really sweet little presents. They're often
Like
waiting for
what?
you with well, sometimes it's little chocolates.
Okay.
And Asia at the moment is just obsessed with strawberries. Everywhere you go in Asia, you've got strawberry shops, strawberry cake shops. It's just strawberries everywhere in Taiwan, Korea, and in Japan. It's just obsessed with strawberries at the moment.
We mentioned the film just at the start of the interview. How much of an impact do you think the film has actually had on your career?
It was really weird with the film. It was just
What, Taylor Swift on the soundtrack?
well, yeah, and then at the premiere, noticing how much taller she was, and you know, yes, she was wearing heels, but it's but if she took them off, she'd still be 6 inches taller than me. I'm not that short, but it's just incredible how things have turned out for me in my life because of making one decision with a flip coin, and now I'm about to do another UK tour and I'm really looking forward to it.
You've talked a lot as well about bullying earlier on. And what is so brilliant about your career, it's the biggest two fingers at those bullies, isn't it? And that's what's amazing about it too.
I'm not sure I look at it in that way. I mean, 'cause I've had some of the people that bullied me apologise and ask for forgiveness afterwards, and not all of them after my success, but some of them before. And I think if you hold on to that negativity that comes from, you know, because it's not about getting revenge, because, you know, if it's eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, what do you end up with? You end up with a blind man with poor teeth. You just...
And what was that like when those people apologised?
It's slightly strange in some ways, but I don't hold grudges. I just don't see the point in holding a grudge, because it ends up holding you down more than anybody else. You've got to try and move on. It can affect you, can make you more vulnerable to other forms of abuse, but you have to find a way forward, not always looking back.
So nice to see you.
Thank you.
Again. Good luck with the tour. So I'm right in saying April the 5th starts in Blackpool, doesn't it?
I've never been to Blackpool, so it's
amazing.
me.
You're going to
you'll
love
have a great
it.
time.
They're going to love you.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Nice to see you,
sure.
Paul. Thank you.
And you.
I love that. Flip the coin.
Yeah.
Change your life.
It can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to see you.